Distinguished guests and participants of the seminar, I'm very happy that I have this chance of addressing you during the WorldSkills 2017 competitions, and especially happy that we can discuss the issues and the global challenges of vocational education and training and the role of skill competitions on a global level. The World Bank made a report on education. A yearly development report was published about 2 weeks ago, and it was the first time that the World Bank really kind of got into the question of education and learning on its yearly report. That report has two messages for us. The first one is a good message. It's a happy message that the children of the world have been able to go to school. So now so many more children in the world can enter school every day. That's the good news. The bad news is that although the children and youth are in school, there are quite big kind of problems with the learning that happens in schools and vocational educations. So we have a kind of a global learning crisis in front of us, as the World Bank report puts it. And trying to kind of overcome that crisis is something that we must do together. Education, training, vocational education are issues that are by character much more today global. The working life as such, the kind of labor markets, the companies working in this field, they are global by character. So also the skills, capabilities, the knowledge, the requirements that the children and the youth will be needing in the future, they have a very strong global character. And for that reason, it's very important that we also kind of together tackle these challenges. If we look the question that what is the future of work, we can refer to a World Economic Forum output that came out about a year ago, when the World Economic Forum made an estimate that about 65% of the children entering primary school today will ultimately end up working in completely new job types that don't exist yet. So we have the challenge that the change in the working life and the structure of different jobs and vocations is so fast that there's a danger that the education system cannot keep up with that rapid change. And that is a big challenge for us, and it kind of emphasizes the importance that when especially the change of technology is so fast, that the education can keep up in that race. If we cannot do it, it will mean that there will be social pain in our societies, which outcomes will be that the companies, the working life organizations, they don't get the skilled people they want to have. And on the other hand, on the individual level, it will mean that we will have unemployment, which means that the welfare of the society as a whole will not be as good as we would like it to be. On the other hand, if we can succeed in that race, so that education and the new technology go hand in hand and develop hand in hand, then we really have the possibility of increasing the prosperity in our societies. We know that in our societies there are excellent possibilities for certain students to get excellent vocational education and training. We know that there are excellent certain teachers and classrooms that are functioning well. And we also know that there are some high quality vocational institutions that have a very high standard of teaching and learning. But that's not enough. The question is that how can we make sure that every student in our societies gets as good a vocational education and training as possible? How can we make sure that all classrooms and all educational institutions have a high quality of teaching and learning? And that challenges kind of our ability to implement the education policy which aims at equity and excellence. And it also emphasizes the kind of systemic way of reforming our vocational education. All students must learn at high levels. And that means that we have also to take into considerations that different students have different backgrounds, they have different needs, so we must more strongly embrace diversity. The different students have different ways of learning new jobs and skills, and in doing that we must see the kind of learning environment in a wide kind of scale. Learning is not a place, it's not a school or a vocational education, but learning is an activity. Learning is something that happens ubiquitously. It happens everywhere. And what is important, that it also happens more in the working place. We know that work as such does not stay from day one to day two the same. The context of the work changes every day, which means that actually work becomes learning. And for that reason, the idea of constant learning and lifelong learning becomes essential also in the field of vocational education and training. I'm very proud to tell you that we actually in the beginning of next year we will be starting and actually kind of implementing finally a big reform on our vocational education. The basic ideas of that change are the questions that we are concentrating on the individual needs and differences of backgrounds of each learner. And that means that there is a personal competence development plan made for every student. We do not make any more the difference with the young students or the adult students in our system, but on the vocational education and training, everybody can build his or her own learning path. The learning happens in vocational educations, but also on the job. And the teacher's role is more and more being a guide and a supporter of the learner on his or her learning path. The way that the outcome of the learning, the skills, are kind of measured is by in the testing happens with showing what can you do with the things that you have learned. So it's actually the real outcomes of the learning that are kind of measured as the kind of final completion of the degrees on vocational education and training. And this is a reform that has been done very strongly together with all the social partners in our society. It's been together with the civil society, with the vocational education. The teachers have been very strongly involved in the reform. And I think this is an important way of doing reforms in the education sector. Every actor, shareholder must be involved in the planning and preparation and implementation in order that there is also the commitment to implement the reform. And we are very happy in Finland to share our good and bad kind of experiences of our education. Finland is a country that we do not have very many natural resources. So our kind of scarcity of the environment has made it a prerequisite for us to concentrate on our human capital, on our knowledge, the things that we can do with the knowledge, the skills, and the characters needed in the working life of tomorrow. We very much see that when we are developing the education system, the vocational training, we cannot do it alone, but we want to share it on a global level. And for that reason, we are very happy to offer also into use the kind of different knowledge bases, the educational institutions and the companies, the companies which are kind of giving different educational services or products, and also the education technology solutions for the best of teaching and learning. We have created this concept, Education Finland, which is actually a kind of a guarantee proof for those companies, educational institutions that are working under the label of Education Finland. We hope that we could be a kind of a educational hub of sharing the good examples around the globe. And so for that reason, we are very happy that we have this chance of being present here in Abu Dhabi, also during the WorldSkills 2017, and I hope that we can make sure that in the future we don't have any learning crisis on a global level, but every young and adult can grow to his or her full potential. Thank you very much and enjoy the seminar.